Chosen ones, there's a reckoning happening in the spiritual realm right now, and your enemies are at the center of it. They're experiencing something they never saw coming. A brutal awakening that's tearing apart everything they believed about you, about themselves, about how this game was supposed to play out. Right now, as you're watching this, they're wrestling with a reality they can't escape. The person they tried to break is unbreakable. The light they tried to dim is now blinding. The power they tried to suppress has become unstoppable. They gambled everything on keeping you small, and they lost spectacularly. This isn't just regret they're feeling. This is a complete dismantling of their worldview. This was the most brutal awakening your enemies could have experienced, not because you sought revenge, not because you wished harm upon them, but because your transformation exposed a truth they spent years denying. They underestimated you at a cosmic level. They bet against divine timing. They tried to cage a force of nature, and now they're watching that force reshape the entire landscape. What I'm about to show you will reveal exactly why their silence speaks louder than their words ever did, why their discomfort is the ultimate confirmation of your power, why their sleepless nights are the price of their miscalculation. Think of it like this: they planted seeds expecting weeds, but you grew into a garden they can't stop visiting in their minds, knowing they'll never walk in it again. Chumpadambachi, let's talk about what they actually did to you. Every achievement you reached came with a response designed to shrink it. You landed something significant, and they said lucky. You built something from nothing, and they called it timing. You showed resilience, and they labeled it stubbornness. None of this was accidental. They knew exactly what they were doing. These weren't thoughtless remarks tossed around carelessly. Each comment was precision engineered to plant doubt. When you shared your vision, they immediately found the flaw. When you celebrated a win, they reminded you of what you hadn't accomplished yet. The pattern was consistent and deliberate. Your progress threatened something in them they couldn't name. Their sense of order required you to stay in a specific place, below them, behind them, dependent on their approval. Your growth disrupted that order. It exposed the lie they built their identity on. The lie that said they were better, smarter, more deserving. Watching you rise without their blessing shattered that foundation. Some of these people weren't strangers. They were family members who should have championed you, friends who should have celebrated your victories, partners who should have protected your dreams. Instead, they became your most skilled critics. They knew your vulnerabilities and used them as targets. They understood your insecurities and reinforced them with surgical precision. The relative who wrapped jealousy in concern, the friend who disguised envy as realism, the partner who masked fear as protection. They all played their parts perfectly. Their withholding of support wasn't neglect, it was strategy. They believed keeping you uncertain would keep you close, keep you manageable, keep you theirs. There was a phase where their words became your inner voice. You started questioning everything, your abilities, your worth, your right to want more. They planted seeds of doubt, and you watered them with your attention. The questions looped endlessly in your mind. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm reaching too far. Maybe I should be grateful for what I have. This was their goal all along, to make you your own warden, to have their limiting beliefs echo so loudly inside you that they didn't need to be present to hold you back. You'd do it yourself. The prison was internal, but they built it brick by brick with their dismissals and silence. You began censoring yourself before they could, shrinking your dreams before sharing them, lowering your standards to match their expectations. This wasn't growth, this was survival mode. You were trying to maintain peace by maintaining smallness. The cost was immense. Every time you dimmed your light to make them comfortable, you lost a piece of yourself. You stopped sharing your victories because you knew they'd minimize them. You stopped voicing your dreams because you anticipated their skepticism. You stopped expressing your truth because their judgment felt unbearable. This self-silencing became automatic, a reflex, protection that turned into prison. The person you became during this phase wasn't you. It was a carefully constructed performance designed to keep the peace. You learned which parts of yourself were acceptable and which needed to be hidden. You developed a sixth sense for their moods, their triggers, their limits. You became a master at making yourself small enough to fit into their comfort zone. But something in you refused to die. Even when you couldn't see it clearly, even when doubt screamed louder than hope, something kept burning. A pilot light that wouldn't extinguish no matter how much water they threw on it. That flame was your truth, your authentic power, the part of you that knew you were meant for more. Their attempts to confine you actually fed that flame. Every criticism became fuel, every dismissal added heat, or every moment of withholding love or recognition stoked something deeper. Resentment transformed into determination, pain alchemized into purpose. What they meant for your destruction became the catalyst for your resurrection. The breaking point came quietly, not with drama or confrontation, but with a simple realization. You woke up one day and understood that their version of you was fiction, a character they wrote to serve their narrative, and you were exhausted from performing a role that was never yours to play. That exhaustion became clarity. That clarity became power. You started asking different questions, not what's wrong with me, but what's wrong with this situation. Not how can I be better for them, but who am I without their influence. Not why don't they love me, but why don't I love myself. These questions didn't have immediate answers, but they pointed you in a new direction, inward, toward yourself, toward truth. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. They expected you to remain in that diminished state forever. In their minds you were written into a specific role, the one who needed them, the one who sought their validation, the one who would always be a step behind. They scripted your entire character arc and assumed you'd follow it, but you rewrote the story. You stopped performing for their approval. You stopped shrinking to make them comfortable. You stopped believing the narrative they forced onto you. This shift happened quietly at first, so quietly they didn't notice until it was too late. You started making decisions without consulting them, building things without their input, celebrating victories without needing their acknowledgement. Each independent move was a brick removed from the wall they built around you. Each moment of self-trust was a crack in their control. The balance of power inverted, and they felt it viscerally. The person who used to seek their opinion now barely noticed their presence. The person who once hung on their words now moved with sovereign authority. The person they thought they knew completely had become unrecognizable. Their confusion runs deep. They can't pinpoint when the shift happened. Was it something they said? Something they didn't say? A specific moment or a gradual drift? They replay conversations, searching for clues. They analyze your social media, looking for answers. They ask mutual connections. What changed? Nothing changed except you stopped playing the role they assigned. You stopped being who they needed you to be and started being who you actually are. That's the part that haunts them. They realize now they never controlled you. They never owned your potential. They only borrowed your compliance and mistook it for permanence. Some of them are drowning in it now. Regret that sits heavy in their chest like swallowed stones. They see you thriving, and it triggers a cascade of memories. Every time they dismissed you, every moment they chose cruelty over kindness, every instance they withheld support when you needed it most. These memories play on repeat like a movie they can't turn off. They see themselves clearly now in those moments, the smallness of their actions, the pettiness of their motivations, the fear that drove their need to diminish you. Watching you flourish forces them to confront what they did and why they did it. The contrast between who you were then and who you are now destroys them. You were seeking their love and they gave you conditions. You were offering your authentic self and they demanded you perform. You were showing them your potential and they showed you doubt. They had something precious and they treated it like garbage. Now that precious thing has become priceless and it belongs to someone else, to yourself. They can see it but can't touch it. They can witness your glow but can't claim any part of it. Their regret isn't just about losing you, it's about realizing they were given something rare and they destroyed it through neglect and cruelty. Some of them want to reach out. They draft messages they never send. They imagine conversations where they apologize and you forgive them. They fantasize about reconciliation where somehow you forget everything and they get another chance. But they know it's futile. The version of you they want back doesn't exist anymore. That person died and was reborn as someone they can't touch. Then there are the others who refuse to look in the mirror, the ones who can't admit they played any role in your departure. They've constructed elaborate narratives that protect their egos. In their version of events, you're the one who changed negatively. You got arrogant, you abandoned them, you became someone unrecognizable. They cling to this story with desperation because the alternative is unbearable. The alternative means accepting they pushed away something valuable. It means acknowledging their jealousy, their insecurity, their need to control, so they double down on denial. They convince themselves and anyone who listened that you're the problem, but their discomfort betrays them. If they truly believe their own narrative, they wouldn't be so affected by your success. They wouldn't check your updates obsessively. They wouldn't talk about you to others. They wouldn't feel the need to justify why you're no longer in their life. Their obsession with proving you wrong reveals the truth they're hiding from. Your success is a mirror reflecting everything they refuse to see about themselves, their stagnation, their cowardice, their unwillingness to grow. While you evolved, they remained exactly where they were, telling the same stories, playing the same games, trapped in the same patterns. Your transformation highlights their paralysis. They built walls around who you should be. Those walls now stand empty while you're miles away, expanding into territory they can't imagine. The structures they built to contain you became monuments to their limitations, not yours. You proved the walls were only as real as you believed them to be. Your transformation wasn't just about breaking free from their grasp. It was about discovering something they could never give you, a profound, unshakable love for yourself. Not the surface-level self-esteem they preached while undermining real love, the kind that accepts every part of you, the light and the shadow, the strength and the vulnerability. This self-love didn't arrive as a sudden epiphany. It was built slowly through every choice you made to honor yourself, every boundary you set, every time you chose your peace over their comfort. Every moment you validated your own experience instead of waiting for their approval. These small acts accumulated into something massive, an unshakable foundation of self-worth. You stopped performing for external validation. The need to prove yourself dissolved. You no longer required their acknowledgement to know your value. You no longer needed their presence to feel complete. You no longer sought their love because you were too busy giving it to yourself. This shift was seismic. It changed everything about how you moved through the world. The love you cultivated for yourself became the standard for how others could treat you. Anyone who couldn't meet that standard lost access. You stopped accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. You stopped tolerating disrespect and calling it loyalty. You stopped sacrificing your well-being and calling it love. Your self-love became a filter that only allowed in what was worthy of you. You've untangled yourself from their judgments completely. Their opinions no longer have hooks in your psyche. Their approval isn't currency you're chasing. Their disapproval doesn't create storms in your peace. You've reached a state of freedom they can't comprehend because they've never experienced it themselves. This freedom revealed something powerful, that everything you were searching for externally was always internal. The validation you craved existed within you. The love you sought was your own to give yourself. The recognition you needed was your own acknowledgement of your worth. They were never the source. They were just mirrors you mistook for the sun. Your energy now radiates with intensity. People feel it before you speak. Your presence commands attention without effort. Your authenticity is magnetic because it's rare. Most people are still wearing masks, still performing, still seeking approval from external sources. You've removed all that. What remains is pure power. Every painful moment contributed. Every betrayal taught you something. Every dismissal strengthened your resolve. Every person who tried to dim your light actually polished it by showing you what you were made of. The pressure they applied created a diamond. Your essence haunts them now, not in a ghostly way, but in a profound, inescapable way. They can't stop thinking about you. You appear in their thoughts uninvited, in quiet moments, in crowded rooms, when they're with other people trying to replicate what you gave them. You're there, a constant presence they can't exercise. This isn't about physical appearance or superficial traits. What haunts them is the energy you carried, the depth they barely noticed, the wisdom they overlooked, the love they took for granted. They see now what they couldn't see then, that you were offering them something rare and they treated it carelessly. What they fixated on was always the surface, your exterior, the parts they could see and categorize. They were so busy analyzing the wrapper that they never tasted what was inside. They obsessed over the presentation while remaining blind to the essence. Now that you're gone, they finally understand. It was never your face or your body that made you unforgettable. It was your soul. Your soul carried a frequency they couldn't decode at the time, a resonance that touched something deep in them even as they rejected it consciously. That's why they can't let go. It's not nostalgia for memories. It's the phantom ache of a spiritual imprint they can't erase. You mark them in ways they don't have language for. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. They meet new people and compare them to you, not physically but energetically. Does this person have that same depth, that same authenticity, that same unnameable quality that made you magnetic? The answer is always no. Not because others aren't valuable, but because you're not a type. You're an original, once experienced, never replicated. They try to find replacements, but nobody fits. The people they meet are measured against you and fall short, not because you're perfect, but because you're irreplaceable. Your specific combination of qualities, your unique energy, your particular way of showing up in the world. It was one of a kind, and they let it slip away. This realization torments them. They had access to something precious and didn't value it until it was gone, like someone who inherits treasure and throws it away, only to discover later it was priceless. The regret is permanent. It doesn't fade with time. If anything, it deepens as they continue to encounter your absence in their lives. They scroll through old messages looking for clues they missed. They replay conversations, searching for the moment they lost you. They analyze interactions, trying to understand where it went wrong. But the truth is simpler and harder than they want to admit. They went wrong. Their actions, their choices, their treatment of you. That's where it went wrong. The emotions your transformation stirred in them are complex and contradictory. They exist in a state of internal chaos that mirrors the chaos they once tried to create in you. There's awe mixed with envy, admiration tangled with bitterness, fascination laced with resentment. They can't separate these feelings because they all stem from the same source. You became what they couldn't. Tompada. Part of them genuinely marvels at your strength. They see the resilience you demonstrated, and somewhere deep inside, they respect it. They recognize the courage it took to break away. the discipline required to rebuild yourself, the faith needed to keep going when everything felt impossible. This recognition is real, even if they'd never admit it out loud. But alongside that admiration lives something darker. Jealousy that eats at them constantly. They look at you and see everything they wish they had the courage to become, the freedom you claimed, the authenticity you embody, the peace you radiate. These are things they want desperately but don't know how to achieve. So instead of pursuing their own transformation, they resent yours. This jealousy manifests as endless questions that torment them. Why couldn't I do what they did? What makes them so special? Why do they deserve happiness when I'm still struggling? These questions have no satisfying answers because they're rooted in a false premise. It's not about deserving, it's about choosing. You chose growth over comfort. They chose safety over evolution. Now they live with the consequences of that choice. The bitterness grows each time they see evidence of your thriving. Your joy feels like a personal attack on their stagnation. Your success highlights their failures. Your transformation exposes their refusal to change. They know on some level that their misery is self-created, but it's easier to blame you than face themselves. So they construct narratives where you're the villain in their story of victimhood. But beneath all the jealousy and bitterness is something they'll never acknowledge: fear. They're terrified of what your transformation means for them. If you could break free, what's their excuse for staying trapped? If you could heal, why are they still wounded? If you could love yourself, why are they still seeking validation externally? Your existence as proof that change is possible destroys every excuse they've used to justify their stagnation. You've become something they can't reach, not physically but energetically. Your frequency has shifted so dramatically that you exist on a plane they can't access. They can see you from a distance but can't connect, like watching someone through glass, present but separate, visible but unreachable. This untouchable quality isn't about arrogance or coldness, it's about alignment. You're aligned with your true self now. Your energy matches your essence. There's no dissonance between who you are and who you present to the world. This coherence creates a force field that only those who resonate with your frequency can penetrate. They don't resonate anymore. Their frequency is stuck at the level of judgment, control, and fear. Your frequency has ascended to love, freedom, and authentic power. These frequencies don't mix. They can't touch what they can't match. Their attempts to reconnect hit an invisible wall because you're no longer available at that level. Your sensuality has become unapologetic. Not sensuality in a purely physical sense, but in the sense of being fully alive in your body, owning your desires, expressing your truth without filter. The parts of yourself they wanted you to suppress are now your greatest strengths: your tenderness, your openness, your raw humanity. These qualities flow from a place of self-love so deep that external validation is irrelevant. You're not performing sensuality for an audience. You're embodying it because you've accepted every aspect of yourself. This authenticity is intoxicating to witness and impossible to replicate. It comes from inner work, not outer presentation. Your transformation didn't just affect you, it sent shockwaves through everyone connected to you. Your family system, your friend groups, your social circles. The energy shifted and people had to adjust or exit. Some rose to meet your new frequency, others couldn't handle the reflection of their own stagnation and disappeared. The people who tried to dim your light now face a choice: evolve or fade into irrelevance. Your growth demands growth from those around you, not because you're requiring it, but because your energy naturally elevates or repels. There's no middle ground, no stagnant comfort zone. You're either moving forward or you're incompatible. This isn't cruel, it's natural law. Eagles don't fly with pigeons, not because eagles are better, but because they're playing a different game at a different altitude. Your altitude has changed. The people who can't breathe at this level will self-select out. The ones meant to journey with you will find their wings. Your presence now forces people to confront themselves, the unhealed parts, the avoided growth, the comfortable lies they tell themselves. You don't do this intentionally. You're not trying to trigger anyone, but your authenticity is a mirror. Your freedom highlights their chains. Your joy exposes their misery. Your peace reveals their chaos. They can't be around you without facing what they've been running from. Some people resent you for this. They preferred when you were struggling alongside them, when you were part of their misery club. Your exit from that club feels like betrayal to them, like you broke an unspoken pact to stay stuck together. They take your growth personally because it disrupts the dynamic where everyone agrees to stay small. But others feel inspired. They see your transformation and think maybe they can do it too. Maybe freedom is possible. Maybe they don't have to accept a life of quiet desperation. Maybe they can break their own chains. You become living proof that evolution is real, that people can change, that the past doesn't have to define the future. This is the true ripple effect, not just how your enemies respond, but how your existence shifts the entire field around you. You're a catalyst, whether you intend to be or not. Your energy alone creates movement, stirs things up, forces change. Some will curse you for it, others will thank you, but nobody will be unchanged by encountering the force you've become. Some people will feel inspired by your transformation. They'll see what's possible and start their own journey. Your evolution becomes permission for theirs. Your courage gives them courage. Your authenticity makes space for theirs. This is the positive ripple, the gift you give by simply being yourself. Others will feel threatened and bitter. Your growth highlights their refusal to grow. Your freedom emphasizes their self-imposed chains. Your joy contrasts with their misery. They'll project their discomfort onto you, calling you changed, fake, or lost. But their judgment is just fear speaking. Fear that they'll be left behind if they don't evolve. The most uncomfortable truth for them is that your growth reveals how they contributed to your pain. They can't watch you thrive without remembering how they treated you when you were struggling. Every smile on your face reminds them of the times they made you cry. Every victory you claim echoes with the memories of how they doubted you. Every step forward you take is measured against the ways they tried to hold you back. This creates a cognitive dissonance they can't escape. They want to celebrate your success, but doing so means admitting they were wrong about you. They want to reconnect, but doing so means acknowledging how they hurt you. They want access to your energy, but earning it requires accountability. They're not ready to give, so they stay stuck in limbo. Too proud to apologize, too aware to deny, too late to repair. Your energy now attracts different people, higher caliber souls, individuals who value growth, people who celebrate authenticity, partners who love freely, friends who support genuinely, opportunities that match your expanded vision. Everything in your reality is upgrading to match your internal frequency. This isn't manifestation in a mystical sense, it's alignment. When you operate from your truth, you naturally magnetize what's meant for you and repel what isn't. You're no longer forcing connections or situations. You're allowing, receiving, flowing. This ease is foreign to people still operating from force and control. The contrast between your old life and your new reality is stark. Before, you were surrounded by people who needed you small. Now you're surrounded by people who celebrate you fully expressed. Before, opportunities came with strings attached. Now they arrive as natural extensions of your energy. Before, love was conditional. Now it's abundant and free. This shift isn't about superiority. It's about resonance. You've tuned your instrument and now you're playing in harmony with the universe. The people and circumstances that resonate with your frequency naturally find you. The ones that don't naturally fall away. There's no force required, just alignment. Your enemies watch this from a distance, and it destroys them. They see you attracting everything they want: love, success, peace, freedom, and they know they had access to you and wasted it. They could have been part of your rise, but chose to bet against it. Now they're spectators to a show they could have been in. There's a cosmic balance at play here that they can't escape. Every action creates an equal reaction. Every attempt they made to diminish you added fuel to your eventual rise. Every moment they withheld love trained you to find it within yourself. Every dismissal strengthened your resolve. They thought they were breaking you, but they were forging you. This isn't about revenge. It's about natural law. The universe doesn't punish, but it does balance. They sowed seeds of cruelty and now harvest regret. You sowed seeds of resilience and now harvest abundance. The equation balanced itself without you needing to force it. Your role was simply to keep growing. Their suffering now is self-created. Nobody punished them. Their own actions brought them to this place of watching you thrive while they stagnate. Their own choices led to them losing something precious. Their own fears prevented them from growing alongside you. The consequences are natural, not inflicted. This divine justice isn't satisfying in a vindictive way. It's simply truth manifesting. What's meant for you finds you. What's not meant for you falls away. They weren't meant to be part of your elevated reality because they couldn't rise to it. That's not personal, that's selection. Natural selection of consciousness. You're not responsible for their regret, their pain, their realization of what they lost. Those are their lessons to learn. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your continued growth, to protecting the peace you've fought so hard to cultivate. Their karma is not your concern. Every step you take now is laying foundation for something bigger than you can see. Your transformation isn't just a personal victory. It's a template, a blueprint, evidence that evolution is possible no matter how trapped someone feels. You're proving that the past doesn't define the future, that chains can be broken, that phoenixes are real. People you'll never meet will benefit from your journey. Your story will reach someone at their breaking point and give them hope. Your example will inspire someone to take the first step toward their own freedom. Your courage will give someone else courage. This is the legacy being built in real time. Your enemies wanted to make you small and forgettable. Instead, their cruelty contributed to making you legendary. The darkness they provided became the contrast that made your light visible from miles away. They thought they were writing your ending, but they were actually setting up your greatest beginning. This is bigger than their regret or your vindication. This is about the message being sent through your life, that transformation is possible, that you're never too lost, that it's never too late. That power has always been inside you, waiting to be claimed. Every person who witnesses your journey receives this message, whether they realize it or not. The most powerful part is you didn't do this for them. You didn't evolve to prove them wrong or make them regret their choices. You evolved for yourself because you deserved better. Because you were tired of living small, because something inside you knew there was more. That purity of intention is why your transformation is so powerful. Chosen ones, this entire journey was never about them. It was about you remembering who you are. They were simply catalysts, painful ones, but catalysts nonetheless. They showed you what you didn't want so clearly that you had no choice but to claim what you did want. They pushed you so far down that the only direction left was up. Your rise wasn't despite them, it was because of them. Not because they helped you, but because they revealed what you were made of. Diamonds form under pressure. Gold is purified by fire. You were pressed and burned, and what remained was unbreakable, pure, valuable beyond measure. The silence that surrounds you now from your enemies isn't the absence of sound. It's the sound of checkmate. Game over. They gambled and lost. They played with someone's heart and learned that some people don't break, they evolve. The silence is their acknowledgement that they misjudged everything about you, but their acknowledgement doesn't matter. What matters is your acknowledgement of yourself, that you see your own worth, that you recognize your own power, that you honor your own journey. Their opinions became irrelevant the moment you stopped seeking them. Your validation comes from within now. That's true freedom. Rise higher, chosen one. Not because you have anything to prove, but because that's what you were born to do. Your enemies will watch from below as you claim altitudes they can't imagine. Their regret will be the soundtrack to your ascension, but you won't hear it because you'll be too busy living the life they said wasn't possible. This is your era, your season, your moment. Everything you endured was preparation for everything you're becoming. The brutal awakening your enemies experienced wasn't your doing. It was the universe balancing scales, truth revealing itself, light exposing shadows. They wanted you in darkness, and instead you became the sun. Keep shining, not for them, for you, because you deserve to experience yourself fully expressed, because the world needs what you carry, because your light is your birthright and nobody gets to dim it ever again. This is your legacy. This is your testimony. This is your triumph. Walk in it with your head high and your heart full. You've earned every bit of this glory.